Hey everybody, this is TJR.
And Superfan?
And we just finished watching the Amazon Studios original motion picture, Being The Ricardos, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, starring Nicole Kidman as Lucille Ball, Javier Bardem as Desi Arnaz, Nina Arianda as Vivian Vance, J.K. Simmons as William Frawley. And this film got a theatrical release just a few weeks prior to it being released here on Amazon for streaming. And we're going to discuss what we thought of the film. And do you want to just give an initial reaction right off the bat?
I thought it was amazing. I thought that everybody, the entire cast was brilliant.
Yes, that was one of the first things that I wanted to address. I have been fascinated about the aspect of seeing this film since we first saw the trailer on Amazon some months back. I was absolutely blown away by the fact that Nicole Kidman was playing Lucille Ball. Because when I started to watch the trailer at first, it didn't even occur to me that that's who it was.
Yeah.
And now that I've seen it, everybody's really good in this film, but our four main principals are so spot on in their performances that it doesn't matter if they don't look exactly like who they're portraying. They get the essence of who they're portraying. They get the facial mannerisms, the hand gestures. They get just all the right aspects of these people as we remember them from watching them on TV for so many years.
Yeah.
They get it down pat.
There were moments where if I glanced away, they sounded like who they were portraying.
Oh, yeah. Especially Nicole Kidman. If you just close your eyes, you'd swear she has the voice down perfect. You'd swear you were hearing Lucille Ball. She's got the voice down so well.
But all of them, the intonation, the phrasing,
everything.
Yeah,
everything. It's really, really amazing. And also, you even remarked, I didn't know that Javier Bardem could sing. And,
I did not.
And he does a great job of not only playing Desi Arnaz, but also singing like him.
Yeah.
And pulling off those songs. It's really incredible. Of course, one other thing that, of course, I was always aware of, and of course it's portrayed in this movie, is just how much Vivian Vance and William Frawley, not only did they not get along as the Mertzes, but they didn't get along in real life either. So it wasn't too hard for them to portray that animosity on camera.
Well, I never really thought it was animosity, but they were definitely catty with each other.
Oh yeah, very much so. And that's another thing. Did you notice how much humor? This is a serious film, yet there are moments of such great humor, even during serious and intense moments, that are worthy of the original I Love Lucy show. And also the film does point this out, but I remember reading this back when I read those excerpts from his book, which now that I think about it, I should really seek out that book and read the whole thing. But he invented the whole 3-camera system that sitcoms used moving forward after that. He invented that whole system of how they shot the show, which was revolutionary at the time.
Yeah. He was really a producer on that show, and that was the point that they did try to make. Lucy tried to get the producer of the show
to acknowledge that Desi Arnaz was also an executive producer on the show.
And whether that really happened, once again, I don't know.
Yeah. I always thought I remember reading his name in the credits as an executive producer. Maybe that changed later on.
The executive producer is kind of like, I don't want to say an honorific title, but
I know in some cases actors start getting executive producer titles as, I know what you're trying to say, as kind of a
acknowledgement for basically their name value.
Exactly.
A lot of time.
This film takes place over the course of 1 week while they're working on an episode. During this week, Lucille Ball is hit with basically two of them are major crises. One of them shouldn't be a problem, but it appears that it is. And first of all, there is the accusation that she's a member of the Communist Party. Secondly, there is a suspicion that she has that her husband is cheating on her. And thirdly, of course, she is pregnant. And the network does not know what they're going to do about the fact that she's pregnant. I remember a long time ago, back in the 70s, as a teenager, TV Guide published excerpts from Desi Arnaz's book entitled A Book, where he talks about his life and he talks about his work on the I Love Lucy show. And the excerpts that were reprinted in TV Guide, I remember reading those, where he talks about the whole pregnancy thing, the whole Ricky and Lucy have a baby, and how it had never been on TV before, and how the network was thinking, you can't do this. The sponsors were thinking, you can't do this. We can't have someone pregnant on TV. And in fact, I guess from what you've read, they wouldn't even allow the word pregnancy. They had to say expecting.
The network, CBS, discussed or consulted with religious leaders because they were concerned about how it would play and how people, whether it was appropriate for broadcast television. At that point.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. And of course, after that happened, of course, it became the birth of Little Ricky became one of the most watched moments in TV history at that point. And of course, afterwards, that became a regular plot line that TV shows would use, where if you had a family, if it was about a family, and a lot of TV shows were, if someone got pregnant, that became like a running story arc between episodes, and audiences always seemed to love it. That should not have been an issue, but of course it was. Now, I am guessing, of course, that this film compresses a lot of events. I doubt that all three of these things happened during the same week. But I do know that all these three things happened. Lucy was accused of being a communist. Apparently, in the late 30s, she was registered as a communist with the Communist Party. Yes,
she registered in 1936 as a communist.
And what was she like? Maybe in her early 20s, maybe?
Yeah.
At that point? Okay. In the film, her character, played by Nicole Kidman, mentions that she didn't really understand what she was doing at that time, that her father was
her grandfather.
Her grandfather, just believed in workers and believed in the Communist Party for that reason, and she did it just to kind of please him.
Out of respect for him.
Yeah. But other than that, she'd never, ever really been involved in the Communist Party. That's the character in the film stating this. But I have a feeling that not all of this happened during the same week. I'm guessing they're compressing time a little bit here.
Yeah.
And by the way, full spoilers here as we talk about this here. A lot of this has been well documented as far as history is concerned. I'm sure most people watching this probably already know all of this.
I would guess not. I Love Lucy is kind of a timeless thing, and people have grown up watching it.
So that's why it was so...
I'm sure that there's a younger crowd,
yeah,
even still, that probably wasn't aware of this or aware of, there was a whole thing of the Hollywood blacklist where actors and screenwriters, industry people were...
basically put out of a job.
Yeah. So, and it could be devastating. I mean, in this situation, they had the entire company, Desilu company, all of the people that worked for them, if this had gone badly, would have been out of work.
And there is a scene at the end of this film, which is a climactic and very pivotal scene, which we're going to talk about right now, wherein they're getting ready to film their latest episode, and this is at the end of the film, which once again takes the place over 1 week's time while they're preparing an episode. And you get to see them prepare the episode too, which is all really fascinating. But when they're ready to shoot the episode, before they shoot, Desi Arnaz comes out to warm up the crowd, which is something he did every week before they filmed. And instead of making some jokes, he talks about this accusation and shows a newspaper headline that just got published that night. Yes. And he brings someone on the phone and puts them, on the PA sound system so that the audience can hear, explaining that Lucille Ball had already testified to the House of Un-American Activities previously. And she was cleared of any charges.
In private, she was able to testify and was cleared.
Cleared of any charges. And he invites the press so that they can hear this and they can write about it. And having this guest speaker via telephone also corroborate that she's been cleared of any charges of being a communist, he asks, and could you please state your name for our audience? And he says, J. Edgar Hoover. And I have, of course, read about this, but I've never, ever, ever heard anywhere that he brought J. Edgar Hoover himself onto the telephone to speak to their studio audience.
And no, that didn't happen. Her testimony was forwarded in a memorandum to J. Edgar Hoover, and he cleared her. But that was it. It wasn't
that dramatic like we're seeing in this film.
It wasn't that dramatic, but, artistic license.
I don't like that they took that kind of artistic license, but I'll admit it makes for a great movie. It makes for a great climactic scene.
Yeah, you have to forgive that.
Yeah, I know that autobiofilms are always loaded with inaccuracies, and it's something I've learned to expect. Though,
and the whole issue of her being accused of being a communist happened much later in the run of I Love Lucy.
Yeah, not during the time period they're saying that it happened.
Yeah, it's identified here as episode 36, I believe it was in the movie, and it was actually episode 68.
And I'm okay with that kind of artistic license, just compressing different events for the sake of a movie. While I really like this film, I wish they hadn't played it that way now that I know it's not true, which I had kind of suspected from the moment I first watched it, which was we just finished watching this movie just a few minutes ago. I'll admit it made for a climactic scene, but it did kind of take me out of the movie because I was kind of thinking, wait a minute, did that really happen? And now, of course, I find out that it didn't. But I appreciate you looking that up.
Ultimately, it doesn't really matter to me. It was so well acted.
Like I said, I always accept that these things are going to be, to a certain extent, fictionalized. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I found it really interesting to watch how they made an episode of this show, the different people involved in the writing, the creating, how jokes were refined over the course of a week while they put this together. I also thought this film made very effective use of flashbacks. Sometimes flashbacks can be paced rather awkwardly. I thought these were paced really well. We get to see how Lucy and Desi met. We got to see the evolution of their relationship. We got to see where their careers were prior to I Love Lucy, especially Lucille's Ball, which was where she was really struggling to just get out of, basically B movies. And I as I watched all these scenes from the past as well, I kept thinking to myself, I really wish this had been a miniseries and not just a movie. That's 133 minutes. I would have gladly watched a 5 or 6 hour miniseries that detailed more about the past, leading up to the show, during the show. How do you feel about that? I really felt like a series would be a great idea.
I think that would have been great, but I think that you wouldn't have gotten these actors.
Possibly no, you wouldn't
have. For a miniseries.
In fact, when I first saw the trailer, I was thinking this was going to be a series original, an Amazon original series versus movie. But I'm glad we got the movie. And you're right, we may not have gotten these specific actors. I'll just say that when I saw the trailer for this, I was, of course, immediately fascinated because, of course, I grew up with this show as a kid. I watched it over and over in reruns. I still think it holds up today as a TV series, that its comedy is very timeless. And so naturally, I was very intrigued to see this, and I had high expectations. And I would say, overall, aside from my one little quibble about historical accuracy with the ending, I would say that this film met my expectations. What would you say?
I would agree wholeheartedly.
So if you've watched this, let us know what you think. Were you a fan of I Love Lucy growing up? Are you part of that generation that maybe never saw this show? Let us know your thoughts. And as always, if you like these videos and want to see more, please click like, click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon so you never miss a video. And also, I want to take a quick moment to just thank the patron supporters who are helping me make more videos. And if you'd like to be a patron supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR the original. And great film. And we'll look forward to reading your comments. Everybody, thank you for watching. We hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye.